welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Happy to be here with you, hanging out inside of where sports truly meets that thing called life. I hope you're having yourselves a wonderful, wonderful day today, a wonderful morning today, and many thanks to everybody watching and listening. This is Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and once again, Happy New Year to everybody out there. So, hope you're having yourselves a wonderful start to the year. If you're not, well, we're going to make it better. And if you are, we're going to keep it going. We have a great show set up for you here today. As you know, on Wednesdays, we have Dolphin Time with the Lemoyne College Dolphins in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership. We had to shift here with this being a holiday week and this being a New Year's Eve going into New Year's Day on Monday. So we're going to have our first AD and DT of the year tomorrow as opposed to today. So we're just moving things this week a day forward. So Athletics Director of Lemoyne College, Bob Beretta, will be joining me tomorrow live on the broadcast, picture-in-picture, on Thursday, January 4th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. So for those of you wondering, that's where the AD and DT will be to start off the year this year. So very excited about the opportunity to share that with you. With that being said, inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. On today's broadcast, I'm going to be sharing with you my on-campus visit with Curt Fitzpatrick, the head coach of the SUNY Cortland Red Dragons, who made it to their first ever national championship game for NCAA Division III football and won their first ever national championship game. So first time they get to the national championship, they come away with a victory, and I went on campus to spend some time with SUNY Cortland Red Dragons head football coach Curt Fitzpatrick, and you're going to have the opportunity to see that entire conversation from beginning to end today in a spotlight special with SUNY Cortland, and that's why I'm wearing, if you could see it here, it's very dark, but I'm wearing my Dragons here this morning. So very excited for SUNY Cortland and excited for the entire community and all of upstate New York. So a lot of great things coming up in that conversation with Curt Fitzpatrick. And then we'll get into Syracuse hoops coming off of their loss on the road to the Duke Blue Devils inside of Cameron Indoor. And then we'll jump into our second hour, which will be its own video. As you know, on Wednesdays, we separate the show into two separate video broadcasts with the Wildcat Sports Pub proudly bringing you our fantasy football coverage. Our fantasy football coverage is its own video because a lot of people want to get to that information to make sure they make their picks in either daily fantasy or their leagues, and to make it easier and more easily accessible, I should say, we have our own video. So in hour number 2, we'll have a video with the Wildcats Sports Pub proudly presenting our fantasy football in focus for NFL Week 18, and me giving you advice on every single game with all 32 teams in action. And we'll also talk about all of the playoff implications that face the NFL this weekend with many teams in the last week. And this is how you want it to be, right? You want the final week to matter. You don't want these teams to be sitting everybody and doing all this stuff. I guess Baltimore can sit some people, but, you know, in most situations, everybody's got to play, because this final week of this season in the NFL 2023-24, Week 18, is crucial for teams either making the playoffs or watching the playoffs from home. So a lot of great stuff coming up. Can't wait to bring it to you. And our spotlight with the SUNY Cortland Red Dragons National Championship team in NCAA Division III with head coach Curt Fitzpatrick is coming up right after this on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career, it's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special broadcast of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, a spotlight on-site, on location here at SUNY Cortland with the head coach of the football program of your Red Dragons and the 2023 NCAA Division III National Champions, Curt. Thank you. So happy to meet you. Dan. So happy to be here with you in person. Curt Fitzpatrick here with us. Curt, this is an incredible moment. I'm fine. It's hard to find the words. I told you off the air. I watched it with my dad, and we were down in Florida taking some time away. We took a trip last year, took a trip this year in December, and we were at Miller's Ale House. We're sitting in the bar, and the game is right there. So down in Florida, they're watching the game, right? So we're watching this game, and we watched part of it there. Went back to the hotel, watched the rest of the game. And we saw everything unfold. You lived it. This team lived it. Curt, what is it like for you to kind of sit here in this moment? Has it sunk in? Do you feel it? How are you this morning?
It's starting to sink in a little bit. I was in the process of planning our annual football banquet, which we have in February every year. And so as I'm starting to plan the details of the banquet, realizing all that we have to, we have this will be a special banquet to celebrate. So putting together some of those details, it's kind of started to sink in that, this is a special team and it was a special time. And like you said, the amount of outreach we've had after the game, people all over the country that watch the game, that are Cortland alumni or even non-Cortland alumni, people who grew up in Central New York, had friends that went to Cortland, or just like football and witnessed a great football game and watched a great football game. It's been kind of a surreal 2 weeks. We're still kind of floating on a cloud.
Yeah, and listen, Cortland has been such a strong program, right? In your time here, you came in February of 2020. You don't have a season in the COVID year. Let's go back to that time period. What brought you in 2020? COVID was kind of ramping up. Things were confusing. What brought you to Cortland after, I know you were at Morrisville State from 2013 to 2019. So why Cortland at the time?
I was fortunate to get hired. Our athletic director, Mike Ertz, believed in me. The previous head coach here, Dan McNeil, was very successful. He was here for 23 years. He's an alum of Cortland. He retired after the 2019 season, and I was fortunate enough to convince Mike to take a chance on the coach down the road at Morrisville. So I was here. My first day was February 13th of 2020. I was here for 3 weeks, and then COVID hit, and the whole campus got shut down, and we got sent home, and I didn't get to see our football team or players for a while, and was here for 18 months before we finally played a football game. But it was it was an interesting time to be in college athletics, but we figured it out, and here we are.
How did you get to know the team, introduce yourself to the team, and start to build bonds when you don't have a season, you don't have practice, and you can't be around each other?
Well, it was like, honestly, I felt those first few months, I was like the Grim Reaper on Zoom with the players. Every time I would set a team meeting on Zoom, and none of us knew what Zoom was at that time. We're just kind of figuring out how. I didn't know how my camera worked on my laptop at that stage. But every time I would get them together, it felt like it was to break bad news that the semester we weren't coming back, then the season was canceled, and then it was one thing after another. And as the leader of the team, I was just trying to give them anything that I could to help get them through to the other side, and let them know that eventually they'd be able to do what they loved again, which is play football. Eventually they'd be able to get back to campus and have a college experience. These are all the reasons why are out of our control, or why it was, I thought COVID, it was kind of highlighted that you got to, as an individual, as a coach, as a player, as a person, you got to control what you can control. And if you worry about what everyone else thinks or what everyone else feels or whatever decisions others make, it made it a lot more difficult. So I think our football team did a great job through that time of just taking what came and trying to make the best out of whatever situation we were presented with. And by the time we got back to football in the fall of 2021, we had a 10-0 regular season, first undefeated season since 1988 at Cortland. And I think a lot of that was just through the leadership on our team, the guys who kept the vision in the forefront and didn't focus on the negative, but just knew that we were going to play football again at some point, and just to be ready for that.
And I was going to ask you about that. Was there anything that happened during the down period, during this 2020, just very confusing tornado of a time? What was built behind the scenes then that you think led to so much success in 2021?
I just think it gave our leaders a platform to lead. Myself as the new head coach, it gave them a chance to know me as someone who could get them through adversity. I think that helped. And also the seniors on that team. We had a lot of seniors who were going to be seniors in the fall of 2020. Many of them who figured out ways to extend their time here as a college student into the fall of 2021. It gave those guys a chance too to kind of build their leadership style, and I think it built a toughness for those players that if they could get through not being able to play and get through a crazy wild time, that it made them appreciate it more once they got a chance to get back on the field. And when something's taken away from you, sometimes you don't realize it until you can't do it. And so I think there was a great appreciation for being able to play the game and being a part of Cortland football. Greater appreciation than if COVID had never happened.
We look at, since you have come in before this season, we look at an 11-1 season. You talk about 10-0, which is the first time since 1988 in a regular season going undefeated. Then we look at a 9-2 season. So going into 2023, you're 20-3. Yeah. Then you decided to do even more as a team and go 14-1. When I look at this history of 3 seasons, there's so much success in such a short amount of time. And you talked about before you that there was success at Cortland. What is it about you and your staff and the plans that have been implemented, the things that you have done culture-wise? How does this all come together? Because a national championship, which I think a lot of people need to understand, it's not built in a couple games. It's not built overnight. It's not built in one season. Mm-hmm. So there's been so much success that you've had going into this 14-1 season. Bring me into what's happened in your 4 years here, 3 years on the field that gave us this moment, because this wasn't a moment that just kind of stumbled into. It's not a moment that, like I said, happened overnight.
Yeah, I think it's not even. I would say it's not even in just in the past 4 years that I've been here. I think it's in the past, 40 or 50 years. The support from our alumni allow us, to give us a platform to be the kind of program that we were able to be this season. So I think it goes back past even the 4 years. The foundation here, our university. Cortland is the type. This is what attracted me to this position so much, is that Cortland is the type of university that places an importance in athletics. That athletics and winning in athletics is something that is celebrated here.
Yeah,
and that I think attracts people that want to be champions.
yeah,
And so there's that, and then I think from a football standpoint, the past 4 years. Just the consistency of our preparation, of our players. You don't win national championships by accident. It takes a process. I think it takes learning and growing. As a coach, I try to be consistent. My players, they probably get bored with what I say because what I believe in doesn't change from year to year. It's the same messages, the same, and we just try to build it back better. Yeah. Every single year, as players gain experience, you learn from losses. We ended the 2022 season losing our last 2 games. We lost the Corticajug game in Yankee Stadium in front of 40,000 people, and that was like a gut-wrenching loss and ripped our hearts out. And then we turned around the next week in the first round of the NCAA tournament and lost the game down at Randolph-Macon. And those 2 losses to end the season, leading into that, we had never even trailed in a game at that point during the season. So it was one of those things where those losses at the end of 2022. Now, I don't know if we would have won the national championship this year had we not gone through that. It's hard. You have to look in the mirror and face the man in the mirror and really try to be honest with what went wrong and where we can improve. And it's not easy to find your faults. It's hard. That's a hard thing to do for anybody in any team. But I think we were able to do that and really set the stage in the off season to try to build our team into a team that could compete nationally. You never know how that's going to play out, but I felt like those 2 losses at the end of 2022 really planted the seeds and built the foundation for us to grow into a great team this year.
Well, and that's an interesting thing to kind of give that background on it, because people, see losses as losses, wins as wins in the columns, right? But that losses, if they're handled correctly, can breed that success. But you also have to have the character on the team, right? You have to have the personal responsibility, you have to have the character, you have to have the work ethic. So when you are bringing in student athletes and looking for the right people, and your staff is looking for the right people, it's incredibly important to not just have talent, because some talent, and I know this at any level, I know this professionally, going into a football locker room and seeing that there's really good talent, which is also a virus. So you have to be really good at finding talent that's not going to, at the same time, kind of be an infestation in your team.
Yeah.
How do you work through that, through the recruitment process, the interview process, of finding talented people that are also going to give to your culture and not challenge your culture in a negative way?
It's very, very important, very important piece of it. I say in recruiting all the time to our staff and to our recruits that we use a measure twice, cut once approach. That was working in the garage as a kid with my dad. He taught me that, doing things around the house.
Yeah.
Measure twice, cut once, and so what that means in recruiting is we want to make sure that we're bringing in the right people, that we get to know the prospect, that we don't just recruit off of a highlight tape or take a transfer in who just because they were at a Division I school, but they have to be the right cultural fit. They have to be aligned with our values, and we clearly define what our core values are. We use the acronym FAST: faith, accountability, selflessness. And then if you got guys that faith meaning believe, have full belief in what you're doing, they have faith in the process and being a Cortland football player. If they're accountable, which means knowing that their actions impact those around them, If they're selfless, meaning it's everyone's job to make it about the team, not about themselves. Understanding that the guy next to you is making it about you, and your job is to make it about him. If you can do those things, you eventually will have a trust that is built that allows you to have success. So we talk about that with our team all the time. I have a slide, a culture slide that our team sees in team meetings, and they probably roll their eyes when they see it. A couple times a semester, and we talk about those things. We also try to recruit to those values, and we want to recruit high school seniors and potential transfers that are interested in our program who are aligned with what we believe in, because you can have talented teams that underachieve, and culture is never perfect either. It's a constant evolution. It's a constant fight. We have a unity council on our team, about 15 to 18 players by class, seniors all the way through freshmen, that are voted on by their team to be like a leadership group on our team. And I tell them all the time that your culture is something you have to be willing to fight for every single day. It's never finished. The job's never complete. We're all human, and so and our players are anywhere between 18 to 22 years old. When I was 18 to 22 years old, I was a knucklehead sometimes, and sometimes young people in college, they're here to learn. So it's never a static process. It's always changing and evolving. But it's important that we recruit and bring in talented football players that we're going to develop on the field, but also good people, because that makes it fun. Makes it fun and enjoyable to be around people like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and without the good people, that culture is going to die no matter what. Faith, accountability, selflessness, and trust. I mean, when you start it with faith, I feel like in today's world, it's something that people want you to whisper, they want you to hide from. On Wake Up Call, I don't. On and off the air, I'm the same guy. I believe in God. It's the center of everything that I do. I don't know how I could get through life without God as my compass. So when you talk about faith and you put that first, and accountability, which is something that I really think is a problem in America today, is being accountable for your actions and your words. Selflessness, it's not just about you. And then trust, which is something that is difficult to earn. It's easy to lose, and it's really difficult to gain and to have it. So when we look at all of those things that you just mentioned, I find every single one of them to be an integral part, not just of a team, but of life in general, if you want to have success. And like you said, it's not perfect. You have to grow every day. But to start it with faith, I would love for you to go a little bit deeper into that, because that, to me, is music to my ears.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily, to some people, every player, the way I kind of set the table for the players is that to everybody, they might think of that a little bit differently.
Yeah,
right. Some people, when I say the word faith as a core value, they think of it from a religious sense.
Yeah.
Other players might not have come from the same upbringing.
Yeah.
So I kind of leave that up to their own interpretation. But kind of pulling back, the definition that I use is faith is belief without evidence.
Right.
You have to believe that you're here for a reason. You have to believe in a higher purpose of your team, of your religion, of whatever it might be. Because in football, you don't win a national championship and then decide that I need to. Okay, now I have faith in the process. Now that I saw the end result, now I'm going to buy into what coach is talking about or what our captains are preaching. You got to believe it on the front end, never knowing what it's going to turn out to. But if our program, if our players and coaches don't have faith in us, don't have faith in our program, don't have faith in each other, then we have no chance to achieve our ultimate goals.
Right, and it's got to be, like you said, you have to have faith first, because you can't have it after. And it makes me think, in a biblical sense, it makes me think, Jesus returns, right, and all the disciples believe that it's him, except for Thomas, and then he shows his hand, and he touches the hand, he goes, oh, it is you. And it's like, it's what you said, that, you have to have belief without evidence. You have to have faith in each other, because you can't And like you said, you can't have faith after the fact. I don't think you can win a national championship without it.
No question.
So you can't have it after the fact because I don't think it would even happen to a team that if they don't have faith in each other, faith in something greater than them, faith in the process, I don't know how they win. So I do want to, speaking of winning, over our shoulder, we have the Cortica Jugs.
Yeah.
Now, we know that this game is huge between Cortland and Ithaca, played at Yankee Stadium, which is incredible, and the experience is probably second to none in a lot of ways for this specific game. I'd love to get your thoughts on this because this has so much history that goes back decade upon decade.
Yeah.
And we're looking back, I mean, right over our shoulder here, you can see the 50s and the 60s. The Cortica Jug is going to be updated for this year.
Yeah, there's actually a third one
Coming, yeah.
that is at the engraver right now, getting the score from this year's game on it. So there's 3 total, just 2 here right now.
But for you, like you said, it was heartbreaking last season to not come home with the Cortica Jug. What is that experience like? How does that set the stage for the NCAA's? Because as exciting as the NCAA tournament is, this game in and of itself is a championship within the season.
Cortica, I've been a part of 3 now since I've been here at Cortland. Something when I was an outsider to the rivalry, I was always jealous of the energy and the enthusiasm and the coverage of the Cortica Jug game. Now that I'm able to be a part of it, it's a special thing. There's nothing like it. This is it's a Division III version of Auburn, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. You know, it's a great rivalry where there's so much emotion involved because it's about, you know, this was the 64th edition of the Cortica Jug game. Cortland and Ithaca have been playing even longer than that. So, you know, the alumni, the student body, Cortica Jug is embraced by not just the athletic departments, but both universities as a whole. I think that's what makes it special.
Yeah.
And both programs have been very successful. We're the first program in the Northeast to win a national championship since Ithaca did in 1991. So you're talking about two brands that are synonymous with success in small college football. And the pageantry, the fierceness of the competition, it's special. And we played in Yankee Stadium in 2022. This past season, Cortica was held over on Ithaca's campus, and it was crazy. You walk down from our locker room, the visiting locker room, which is about a 5-minute walk from the field. An hour before the game, we're just walking out for pregame warmups, and the stands were totally full. You know, with however many thousand people in there an hour before the game. You take the field for pregame warm-up, half the stadium gives you a standing ovation, half the stadium is booing and hissing and, you know, throwing insults your way, which is all in a fun kind of competitive spirit, but it's just there's nothing like it.
Yeah, and like you said, whether it's played on one of the campuses or it's played at Yankee Stadium, there's so much history to it, and like you said, the pageantry, a perfect word for it. So we get into the postseason this season, and the Stag Bowl comes about, and you have the opportunity to go up against a team that knows what it is to win a national championship, to rise above everybody else. And in this game, and I don't think I'll ever forget this moment, being there with my dad, like I said, down in Florida, watching it in the hotel room, and being like, are they going for 2? And this game was so much offense. And, I mean, in the second half, I should say, because it was like the first half, it was kind of slow to get going for both teams, and it was that dog fight that was tight, and then it blows open in the third quarter, and then we see the end of this game, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, every time one team gets the ball, they're scoring, then the other team's got to respond, and it's a seesaw. And I looked at my dad, and I was like, there's been little to no there was plays and whatnot, but there was so much offense and not really that like exclamation on defense. And I looked at my dad and I said, you need one defensive play out of this big offensive second half, and you get it at the end of the game on a 2-point conversion to win the game 38-37. Please bring me into being on the sideline.
You know, it was the first half. Our defense played great, and North Central moved the ball in the first half, but our defense made big stops in the red zone.
Yeah.
So we had been playing good red zone defense for most of the game. including in the third quarter. We played great red zone defense and held them to a field goal, which was huge in the game. And so at that last 2-point conversion, our players were ready for the moment. We all postseason, we've been talking about next play mentality.
Yeah.
Forget the last play, play on the next play. Forget the last game, focus on this game. And I thought they really embodied that in that moment. We took a timeout right as they snapped the ball for the first 2-point conversion. We called a timeout so we could see what type of play they were going to run. They were going to try and roll the quarterback out to the field and run a little pick play. We called timeout, so we knew what they were going to do. Now we were ready for that, and like we said in the huddle to our guys, just be ready for the moment. Take a deep breath, know your assignment, and just go play. I thought our players succeeded in that because they weren't thinking about the outcome.
Yeah.
They weren't thinking, well, if I do this, we'll win. If we don't do this, we'll lose. They were just in the moment and ready to make that play. And if you watch that on film, the thing that's most proud for me as a coach is we probably could have had 4 or 5 guys make that tackle before he crossed the goal line. The pursuit, the energy to the ball, the effort was outstanding. And just very proud. It would be easy for a defense in that second half when you're giving up touchdown to sulk and not be ready to make a play to win. But our guys, they were able to flush the pass out the door, out the window, and be ready in that moment to make a huge play.
Before I let you go, we have a special guest that's off camera right now. Should we bring that guest in?
I think we can bring the guest in. Yeah, I'll let you do the
national champion trophy. Cortland had never played in a national championship game for football, so of course had never won a national championship. The first game that they've ever played in a national championship for football is a victory. So you're 100% in national championship games. This is the beautiful NCAA National Championship 2023 Division III Stag Bowl. Champions played in Salem, Virginia. It is right here. It is not light. This is a heavy trophy, folks. I love it. Coach told me I could bring it home. No, I'm kidding. But I would love to put this in the studio. I might have to get a replica. But, Coach, as we have this final moment here and we get to look at this beautiful trophy and the Cortica jug that's going to be coming in behind it with the updated, just what it means to you, all the work you've done. You're a native of Fulton. You went to Fulton High School. You went back to your high school. You coached quarterbacks and receivers. You went on to Morrisville State. You ended up here. You've had so much success. I mean, now that we're sitting here with this, I'd love to know what you're feeling, what you're thinking.
Proud to be from Central New York. Proud to be from Fulton. Going up there this weekend to celebrate with friends and family and everybody in Fulton that followed along. Yeah. Just appreciative and grateful. There's the amount of outreach from Central New York since we won 2 Fridays ago has been awesome. Just to hear, who watched the game and that they were watching. I was at this bar watching. You were down in Florida watching.
Yeah.
It's just really cool to know that even if you're not a Cortland, people have no affiliation to SUNY Cortland, but just because it's a Central New York, I think people from upstate New York are very proud to be from this area and to represent not just Cortland and our community, but the entire Central New York and upstate New York community has been humbling and just an awesome thing.
Well, yeah, and Central and upstate New York, I love you. I came back for a reason, and so I love hearing that from somebody else. Curt Fitzpatrick, the head coach of the SUNY Cortland Red Dragon national champion football team. Folks, I cannot thank you enough for your support of SUNY Cortland and your continued support of SUNY Cortland. Coach, I can't thank you enough for your time.
Thanks very much.
We'll talk with you all soon. Be
Go
safe.
Dragons.
Take care.
Carvel Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, located for you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Open 7 days a week. Are your sports card shop that you need to go to every single week, all throughout the year. Fantastic people. If you've ever collected sports cards before, you know how exciting it can be, right? To find your favorite team, your favorite player, an autograph inside of a pack of cards, a patch, a relic, a piece of a bat of Hank Aaron. Are you kidding me? To have those moments and share those moments, I'm one of those kids that's always going to be a big kid. And that's because my family, my grandmothers, my mom would take me out to sports card shops growing up, and I would have the opportunity to go find my favorite player, my favorite team, to get something really cool, bring it home, and put it in my room, right? Put it in my binder, put it up on the dresser, and that's so many memories connected to my family, connected to the sports I love, connected to the teams and the players I love. GG Cards and Breaks gave that back to me. Years and years after all of those memories, they brought me back and they gave me new memories. If you've never collected sports cards before, GG Cards and Breaks is the best place to start. If you've collected your whole life, GG Cards and Breaks is the place to continue doing that. It's different, it's unique, and it's because of the people. It's because of Josh, it's because of Anthony and the team at GG Cards and Breaks. Yeah, they have great product. They have singles, they have graded cards, they have packs and boxes. They're the only place I know that has every NFL, every MLB, and every NBA team with their own box that you can come in, look on the back wall, grab your team, and sift through everything and find the players that you're hopefully looking for. They definitely have the product. They have Pokemon, they have Disney Lorcana. But what makes them truly special is the way that they treat you and the way that you feel when you walk in to GG Cards and Breaks. It's different. They know that this is a hobby that people care about because they care about it too. They know that people get excited because they get excited too. They know what it's like to be a big kid because they're big kids too. There's selling product and there's believing and enjoying what you do. GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. We look forward to seeing you out there. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life. I want to give another special thanks to Curt Fitzpatrick for joining me here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Curt and the entire SUNY Cortland community, the Red Dragons athletic programs, of course the football team, are something that has always been on my mind for a very long time. Appreciate them greatly. I have had the opportunity to be on campus And when the New York Jets were there, I was there for, I think, all but one season when the New York Jets were on campus. I've been there for other events that have happened there, high school lacrosse tournaments as well. So big time shout out to SUNY Cortland. It was an amazing, again, another amazing moment in sports, something wonderful to watch with my father. Like I said, we were down in Florida. We were on a vacation together, and we had the opportunity to see that. Rob said, cool kid, how you represent the entire athletic community, not just the top schools. No other news media does that, so it shows your commitment and what you're about. Brother, you already know. Love you, Rob. Robertson said, if Fran wants a top-notch coach who can recruit the lower half of New York State and develop a group of men, I think bringing Coach Up 81 to the Dome. So Robertson saying, hey, hire this guy. Hey, I want to see Cortland do well. We got to keep him there. And so Greg said, please, please, please emphasize to Papa Joe that Cortica is a big deal and not just a game that he referred to as a football game where a couple hundred people will show up to. It's the biggest little game in the country for a reason. No, and he didn't mean anything bad by that, Greg. He was saying that, hopefully people will show up to it because he didn't know it as well. But yeah, Cortica, an incredible, incredible game. And the Cortica Jug. I mean, first and foremost, to be on campus, and this is the whole thing. Could I have done this conversation on Zoom? Yeah. Could I have done it over the phone? Yeah. But I reached out to Curt Fitzpatrick and I said, I want to come see you. I want to be on campus. I want to physically shake your hand. I want to look him in the eye. I want to sit down with him. It was important for me to do that. It's always important for me to do that. And it's my first choice with anything. When you see coaches on Zoom or, athletic directors or student athletes and whatnot, yeah, scheduling and whatnot, but I find it very important to me to be in person and to be sitting down with them and to make those connections. And if we made those connections and we Zoom a bit and whatnot, then that's fine. And if we Zoom because we have to and that's what their schedule permits and they're traveling, whatever, but the sitting down and shaking hands and looking somebody in the eye, that is what means a lot to me. I always tell people, you're going to catch me doing these things in this order all the time. I want to see you if I can see you. If I can't physically sit down with you and see you, I'll call you. If you can't do that, I'll text you. We live in a society where that third one is the first one, and that's a big problem with society. Things get lost in text messages. People hide behind text messages. Things get misconstrued in text messages. It's easy to have conversations that you don't want to have when you're on text message because it doesn't feel real and genuine, and you can't hear how the person's responding, and you can't hear their emotion, so it's very detached. To me, go out and see people. Spend time with people. That's why it was important for me to go on campus and spend time with Curt Fitzpatrick. I didn't want to just do a special with Cortland. I wanted him to know how much I care about him and how much I care about his program, his school, and his community. So I got my butt in the car and I drove over to him and we spent time together. And he let me see the Cortica Jug, which I thought, to me, seeing that there, it feels like one of the oldest, most historic of any division, right? I don't look at schools and look at divisions. I look at something and say, wow, that thing looks like it was made in the 1800s. You know what I mean? It was just such a cool thing to see the Cortica Jug and know that the next one's coming because they have to update it because they just won. So that's exciting, and there's going to be a third one that's there. So when we were figuring out where do we want to sit, we went into the Hall of Fame area, and we sat with I said I want to put the Cortica Jugs behind us, and then the national championship trophy. I said to him, I was like, can we have it, and leave it off camera, we'll bring it in. And a little behind the scenes, I said, let's have it here, but not show people right away, and then we'll bring it in. And the trophy's heavy. It's heavy. And to be able to hold a national championship trophy, for a coach to allow me the opportunity to do that, I wanted to take it home and I wanted to just, put it here in the studio. I thought that would be a good idea. But to be able to hold the trophy and physically, be a part of that. You know what I mean? Like, this is the trophy that they held on the field. This is the trophy that they cried with. This is the trophy that they screamed with and yelled at the top of their lungs in excitement with. This is the trophy that they ran around with. This is the trophy that they kissed and they hugged and they, rode on the bus with, holding it in their arms. So, to be able to pick up this trophy and for Coach to give me the opportunity to do that, I can't thank Curt enough. And, anybody that knows me knows it doesn't matter who you are. SUNY Cortland, Cornell, Colgate, Binghamton, Lemoyne, Bryan and Stratton, Syracuse, Hamilton, Oswego, OCC, and so on and so forth. I love telling your stories. I love being around you. And I love being around good people. I love my community. I love my community more than I can ever tell you. And people that know me know that. This is my community. These are my people. Now, do we reach people all over the world? Absolutely. Have I been to many parts of this country and gotten to broadcast my show? More than grateful to God for that. Home is home, right? We have our first home of Central and Upstate New York. We have our second home of the great state of Florida. We reach people in the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast. We've reached people in Germany, France, Spain, Italy, England, the United Kingdom in general, Russia, China, Mexico, Canada, and so on and so forth. And it's my honor, it's my privilege. And above all that, home is home. So you bet your sweet tush that when SUNY Cortland was playing for that national championship, and my dad and I are down in Orlando, Florida, we were at Miller's Ale House, which I would suggest y'all go to. It's a nice place. We were at Miller's Ale House, and the game was on. They had the game on right there in the bar, and I was watching it. And then we got home to the hotel, and I was like, we got to watch the rest of the game. I was like, I'm exhausted, but we got to watch the rest of this game. So we sat there and we watched the game, and I don't think I'll ever forget that moment, thanks to SUNY Cortland and thanks to the Red Dragons and Curt and the team, to be watching that game, to be with my dad, to be away from home in my second home, and God still connecting me to my first home, which is God's poetry, and he does that all the time. I'm over 1,000 miles away, and yet I feel like I'm right there. I'm watching this game, the Stag Bowl, and we went back to the hotel. We finished the game, and I'll never forget looking at my dad and going, they're going for two? I was like, they're going for two right now? They're going for the win. And in a second half, there was so much offense, like we talked about, Coach. Here's the biggest defensive play of the game, a stop to win by 1 point, 38-37. Great game. And Greg said it. I mean, he said it was Hollywood script written. I agree, man. Said it was a magic ride this season. So glad to see them in Beverly, Massachusetts during the playoff run. A true David versus Goliath story for a national championship. Yeah, North Central, team that knows what it's like to win a championship and knows what it takes there, has been there, did it recently. That this Cortland had never been to the national championship game. As good as the football program has been and as many wonderful moments they've had, they've never been there. So to be there and for the moment to not be too big for them, they didn't let that happen. They played their game and they won. And it's incredible to see Cortland, a place that is so close to Syracuse, so close to my hometown, driven by that area, through that area, in that area for more years than I can count. It's right there. I mean, Cortland's it's a neighbor to Syracuse. And to know that here's SUNY Cortland, Red Dragons, national champions. And that'll be forever. Etched in history in 2023. Beautiful thing. And I really do appreciate the fact that Coach allowed me the opportunity to spend some time with him. So, and Greg said never been to the national semis. So, you look at this history, right? Never a national semifinalist. never in the national championship, never won a championship. All those things are scratched out of history. Take them off. National champion, SUNY Cortland. Isn't that good to say? And the other thing about it is, who does SUNY Cortland recruit? Central and upstate New York. The state of New York. Curt Fitzpatrick specifically recruiting the state of New York. So these student athletes want, when people go, oh, Division I's the only thing that matters, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. No, if you go Division III, who cares? Well, they just won a national championship. And before they won a national championship, I cared. You want to know why? Because these kids are working toward opportunities. They're working toward opportunities. And God bless them all for the work that they put in. You look at where these kids are coming from, the Stony Brook area, Harlem, Freeport, Massapequa, Staten Island, Saratoga Springs, Buffalo, Greenwich, Auburn, Fredonia, Baldwinsville, Wheatley Heights, Eastport, Levittown, Suffern, Middle Island, Warwick, Brooklyn, Germantown, Port Jervis, Lindenhurst, East Northport, Yorktown Heights, Oakdale, Wading River, Slate Hill, Brighton, Antwerp, East Greenbush, Seaford, Fulton, Garden City, Oceanside, Sayville, Liberty, Camillus. Shout out to my guy Dan Becker, West Jenny. Amherst, Cornwall, Cobleskill, Bethpage, Edgemont, Port Washington. I might have said that before. Orangeburg, Syracuse, Christian Brothers Academy, Will Lawn, offensive lineman, right there from Syracuse. Manorville, Queensbury, Bellport, Montrose, Hoosick Falls, Miller Place, Liverpool, again, Nate Grazier, offensive lineman. Shout out to the Warriors. Canandaigua, Farmingdale, Summers, North Syracuse, CNS, Joey Penizzato. What's up, Joe? Big shout out to CNS. Carmel, Smithtown, and the list goes on. These are our kids. This is Central and Upstate New York. And that's huge. So it's not just that a local upstate New York school won a national championship. Your kids from all over the state of New York banded together to win a national championship. The kids that I may sit with on stage when they're 14, 15, 16 years old, 17 years old, won a national championship. The schools that you go and support and see and watch won a national championship. Those alumni won a national championship. So, to me, that makes it even sweeter. Everything that Rob Drummond and I have said over and over and over again, there is talent in our community. I don't care if it's Division I, Division II, Division III, Division IX. There's talent in our community, and this talent banded together from all over the state of New York and some from New Jersey and other places and won a national championship. And I don't want it to go unstated, and it won't. And that's why I took my butt and I drove to SUNY Cortland, and I hope that you do that this upcoming season. I hope you go and support the team, and I hope you go and support SUNY Cortland in general and give some love to the Red Dragons. Greg said, shout out Slate Hill. Gallo had countless D1 scholarship offers in wrestling. Two-time state champ decided to attend Cortland to play football and baseball. Yeah, man. And that's the thing, too, is that some of these student athletes have D1 offers. Some of them have D2 offers. And they still decide, and they say, no, you know what? I want to go to Cortland. And Curt Fitzpatrick said to me, he was like, this school has emphasis on athletics. Like, athletics matters to SUNY Cortland. And it shows. And this is an awesome moment. I can't say enough about it. I look forward to saying more. And I'm grateful to Coach for taking some time with me. I want to stay in the state of New York, and let's get into this Syracuse game that happened last night. The Syracuse Orange. I was watching this game from 30,000 feet in the air as I was traveling back from covering the Jacksonville Jaguars. And so watching this Syracuse game, it looked like it was a game, right? At halftime, respectable. Syracuse was down by just 2 points, 35-33. But Duke really couldn't miss in the second half. And this is an issue, right? And Syracuse was playing man, right? But Duke was just hitting them threes. Syracuse, they've done some good things defensively. They got to get better defensively. A big gaping issue with Syracuse is they don't have a dominant scorer. They don't, from beyond the arc. They don't have now they have a dominant scorer in Judah Mintz, but they don't have a dominant scorer from beyond the arc. They don't have a guy or two that they could just send that ball to. And the thing is, Duke has them. Duke has a ton of them. They went 8 for 17 from three, almost 50% on the night. They shot over 50% from the field in general. Syracuse 25% from three, 43.6% from the field. Finishing the game, Judah Mintz scored 18 points as a starter, but the leading scorer is off the bench. Malik Brown, again, just going ham. Malik Brown was the second leading scorer for Syracuse in their game at home against Pitt in the Dome. The last game that they had, they gave them their first win in the ACC this season. He had 15 points to be second with Benny Williams there. They both had 15, and they were behind only Quadir Copeland, who had his single-game career-high 22. Malik Brown, 26 points in this game off the bench, 11 for 16 from the field, hit one of the 2 threes that he took an attempt on, had 7 rebounds, 1 steal, and only 1 personal foul. And we don't talk about Malik Brown enough. And that's why I'm going to say it. Malik Brown, Malik Brown, Malik Brown, Malik Brown. Malik Mo freaking Brown. I'm going to say it again. So, we need to talk about Malik. Because in this game, he scores almost 30 points. But in general, Malik is the guy that's cleaning up at the rim. Malik is the guy that is helping Syracuse get second chance points, which for many years now, they haven't really gotten a bunch of those. Malik is after the rim. He's after the rebounds, offensively, defensively. He's there for the putbacks. He's there to put his body on the line to go after things. He is the guy that is willing to do whatever it takes to win, and we watch that. If you're paying attention to Malik Brown, you can see that he's the guy. If you want a rebound, I'm looking at him first. If you want a rebound.
Geico makes it easy to get coverage for what you care about. Cars, apartments, jewelry.
If you want to put yourself in a position where you have a fighting chance at a loose ball, I'm going to Malik Brown. It's just as simple as that. So he had himself a game. Chris Bell had 2 points in 11 minutes as a starter. McLeod, again, not seeing much of him. He started the game, played 7 of 40 minutes. 33 minutes he's off the floor. He had 2 rebounds, a block, a turnover, and he had 3 fouls in 7 minutes. I think Syracuse is going to have to recruit some big men, look for some big men, and get some guys. What Syracuse needs to do, because, developmental, Bernie Fine was great at developing these guys, right? I think a lot of them would attest to the fact that Bernie helped their game at Syracuse. Syracuse needs to bring in people that know how to bang bodies, that have that muscle, that have that strength, that want that physical banging, just hitting, that want that. Guys that don't shy away from contact. And I'm not saying Naheem is shying away. I'm saying they need the tenacious, voracious, angry Mo Effers that Pitt will get, that Georgetown will get, that Villanova will get, that Gonzaga will get. Syracuse has to get some of those guys. Syracuse does not have a dominant center, and it's showing. And I want Naheem to be better. He has moments where he's, blocking shots. I think he had 4 blocks in the game against Pittsburgh. He had 2 on 1 possession. I think he had 3 in the first half. So, there are moments where he can do some things, but it's catching the ball. It's, it's number one, first and foremost, getting your hands on the ball so that your team trusts you to pass the ball to you. So they got to trust you, right, to send the ball inside. So it's catching the ball, it's gathering it, controlling it, and being able to make moves. Being tall is great. It's wonderful. It's God-given. But you got to do the rest, right? God-given, you're 7'4", but you got to do something from there. And 7'4", 265, you could gain some pounds there. You could put on some weight. And I'm not here to knock Naheem McLeod because I think a lot of people, that job's already been taken. There's many people that have been really disrespectful toward him, and I don't appreciate that, nor do I condone it. Naheem McLeod is struggling. He is. We could see it. Statistically, he's struggling on the court, catching the ball. He's struggling, right? So in the future, from here forward, Syracuse is going to have to bring in a center or 2. I think they should bring in 2, not 1. Syracuse is not known to bring in a big guy who has necessarily the greatest hand-eye coordination, necessarily the greatest offensive game, necessarily somebody who, uses that height to their best advantage. They struggle. Sometimes they get big guys, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting a big dominant force inside like Gonzaga is going to get. So the Orange really need to use their name, use their history. Heck, bring some of those alumni with you or have them be there on campus when the recruits come in. Have Rosie there, have Dale there, have Derek Coleman, have Billy Owens, have John Wallace, and so on and so forth. Bring the guys in. Because they need the help. And they need to get some of these big men that are ready for the moment. So, there's a struggle there in the center position. There's no doubt about that. Like I said, I am not in this attack mob of Naheem McLeod, and I'm never going to be there. I respect these guys, and I know they're trying. I would like to see more from Naheem, and I think if it keeps going in this direction, Syracuse is going to be playing a lot of games without a center. And Malik Brown's going to have to step into that, or Benny Williams, and they're going to have to go from there. Benny had 2 points off the bench in 18 minutes. He did have 5 rebounds, and they were all on the defensive side of the ball. He had an assist, he had a steal, he had a block, and 1 turnover. How about that? He did have 3 fouls in 18 minutes, but he scored, he rebounded, he assisted, he stole the ball, and he blocked a shot. Good all-around game for Benny, doing some good things. Justin Taylor, again, quiet, 1 point in 22 minutes. 4 rebounds all defensively, 1 assist, 1 block himself, 1 point in 22 minutes. So that's what I'm saying about not having a killer when it comes to shooting the ball. And this is not something I want to see the whole time, right? I don't want to see Syracuse live and die by the 3. That's what Syracuse did for so many years. And when you had a lot of talent, when you had Jerry McNamara and you had Preston Shumpert and you had Carmelo Anthony, there's John Gillen obviously had some really awesome moments there. There's certain Trevor Cooney. There's guys that you had, Andy Routens, right? And there's moments that you had, Buddy Boeheim, where you could lean on that. But living and dying by the 3 is not something I want to see Syracuse do. I don't want that to be like this is our game plan the whole game. So this is not the same thing as what I'm about to say. I don't want the team to live and die by the 3. But I do want them to have a couple 3-point shooters that can get you to the upper 30s, 40% a game. Somewhere in that region, right? If you're a 40% 3-point shooting team on average, that's pretty dang good, right? But if you can get a guy or 2 on your team where there's a good chance that half of those shots that they take are going to be some really good looks, and that's what Syracuse is missing right now. Taylor's not doing it. Mintz is not doing it consistently. J.J. Starling, nobody. Chris Bell, it's not happening. Quadir Copeland took the most threes in this game against Duke. He took 6, and that was unexpected in my opinion, because I don't think Quadir Copeland's the guy that you want shooting the three. I would think you want the ball more three-point wise to come from Judah Mintz, to come from not even Judah Mintz, I would say, because he's more of that inside slash threat guy. I would think, Chris Bell, he touches that thing like a hot potato, lets it go. I mean, I think the expectation is that Chris Bell's going to shoot it, or Justin Taylor's going to shoot it, or maybe Benny, Kyle Cuff, who didn't attempt a three in the game in 9 minutes. But Quadir Copeland took the majority of them. Listen, this was a game where Duke had an answer for literally everything. In the second half, they had an answer for everything. Mitchell went 7 of 10 from the field overall. McCain went 6 of 13. Roach went 7 for 11. McCain made 4 of the 6 threes that he attempted. Nobody really shot great from 3 outside of him. Roach was 2 for 2. Mitchell was 0 for 2. There's a couple guys that didn't attempt any. Power was 0 for 2. Proctor was 2 for 4 off the bench. Power and Proctor both off the bench. Foster was 0 for 1. So, I mean, really, it was McCain. That was your guy. It was getting it done here. Number 0. The guy that was getting the ball on the left wing. And he'd get the ball on the left wing, stop, he'd have enough time, pop, and you're like, I think that's going in. And then he'd take almost the same shot, and it's like, man, this guy's like clockwork. It looked like he was in a three-point shooting contest. The freshman out of Sacramento, California, Jared McCain, number 0 for the Duke Blue Devils, playing out of his mind, especially in the second half, where the team just, like I said, kept making shots. 4 of their 5 starters ended the game in double figures. They didn't need much off the bench. They got 14 from Proctor and 2 from Blakes. Nothing from Young, Power, or Stewart, who came off the bench, who played a few minutes. Mitchell ended with 21 to lead the team. McCain with 18, Roach with 17, Filipowski with 12, and Foster, the lone starter, did not get into double figures in 21 minutes, had 2 points, 2 steals, 2 assists, 1 rebound, which is on the defensive side, and 1 turnover. But you also look at this. Duke, smart on the fouls. The Duke Blue Devils, their starters, this is how the game ended. Mitchell, in 31 minutes, did not foul anybody. Filipowski, their center, in 27 minutes, 3 fouls. Foster, in 21 minutes, no fouls. McCain, in 31 minutes, 1 foul committed. Roach, in 32 minutes, 2 personal fouls committed. Duke is doing incredible things under John Shire, following incredible things under Coach K. Duke is a disciplined team. Because they made all those shots, but they didn't get into foul trouble. They didn't commit stupid fouls. Now, granted, I think these officials called some questionable things against Syracuse, which in Cameron Indoor, I'm not surprised. But because we've seen it in other games before. Remember when Jim Boeheim just couldn't wait to get that suit jacket off? So when you look at this, it was the CJ Fair game. But when you look at this thing with Duke, they win by 20. They score a lot of points. And people will pay attention to the offense, right? The flash. But I'm paying attention to the fact that your starters stayed out of foul trouble. Every single one of them. And that 2 out of your 5 starters didn't commit a single foul, playing more than half the game each. That your center had 3, which comes to be somewhat expected. Your McCain, who had a fantastic night, had 1 foul, and Roach had 2. Nobody fouled out of the game. Young had 3 fouls in 4 minutes off the bench. Stewart had 2 in 4 minutes. Power had none in 8 minutes. Proctor had 2 in 27 minutes. Blake's had none in 15 minutes. It is a well-disciplined, well-oiled machine. That's what Duke is. John Shire is continuing the history of Duke, the positive history of Duke. This is his era. This is his time. And the team doesn't look like it's really missed a beat. To anybody that thought, hey, when Duke loses Coach K, when he decides to retire, this team's going to drop off. They're going to dip. They're not going to be as good. Wrong. Duke is the threat. Arguably the biggest threat in this conference. Duke is always a threat in the ACC. And people need to get to know that. Just because Coach K is not there, I think John Shire's already shown you but I think he's also barely scratched the surface. North Carolina's been good. Wake Forest has been good, right? They're both undefeated, 2-0. Clemson's 1-0. Miami's 1-0 in the conference. NC State, Georgia Tech, they're all the undefeateds. Duke is 1-1. Virginia Tech, Notre Dame 1-1. Syracuse is 1-2. Florida State, Louisville, Boston College, and Pittsburgh have yet to win a game in the ACC. FSU's played 1. Louisville's played 1. BC's played 2. Pitt has played 3 ACC games. They've lost every single one of them. So, Syracuse got to get on the right side of things, of course. The Orange coming up here. We'll be back at home next week. And looking at Syracuse's schedule, that's their next game. So that's going to be a late game. It's going to be at 9 p.m. Eastern time on January 10th. It's a week from today. So a week from today, the Syracuse Orange will be back home January 10th on a Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be on ACC Network. I suggest you come out to the game. They'll be facing off against Boston College. Then they'll head back to the road, and they'll play 2 games in 3 days, just a few days difference here. They'll be at North Carolina on January 13th, and they'll be at Pitt on January 16th. So they're getting both of their games out of the way with Pitt within a 5-game span. They're going to play them twice. Then they'll come home, and they'll play 2 Florida-based teams and 1 North Carolina team. They will play Miami on January 20th, Florida State on January 23rd, and NC State on January 27th. So within a week's time, they will play 3 games, Miami, Florida State, and NC State, all coming to town. Then they'll head on the road for a couple. And then coming up on February 10th, that man Joe Girard III returns to the Dome wearing the same orange, but orange and purple for the Clemson Tigers on February 10th at noon Eastern time. So some great stuff coming up for the Syracuse Orange. They're 10-4. Duke overall is 10-3, so not much a difference there. But Syracuse is going to need to shoot better from the 3 when they take those. Again, I don't want them taking 3s a million times a game like we've seen them do in many years of history. I don't need to see that anymore. That's not what I want Syracuse to do. They need to have a 3-point sniper. They need to have a couple. They need to have a dominant 3-point sniper, and then that's somebody that's like doesn't have to be as dominant but close, right? Somebody who can shoot like almost 40%, and then somebody who could shoot like 36%, 35%, right? They need consistency from beyond the arc because I don't want them to live and die by the 3, but they have to have the 3 in some respect. I think it needs to be there. I'm not saying use it all the time. I'm saying use it sometimes, have it, because you got to have your inside-outside game. And against a team like Duke, if you don't have that outside game, you're not going to win. They're not going to, at this point, they're not going to outmuscle Duke inside and just play in the lane and win the game in the 80s. If they play really good defense and they get inside and they do some good things inside because they do have some talent there, maybe they could beat Duke in a game that's in the 50s. But it shows where Duke is and where Syracuse is right now. Not that Syracuse can't get there. It just shows where the two teams are. It shows that Duke is all around. It shows that Duke is more disciplined. It shows that Duke has better shooters. It shows that Duke has a response for everything, that Duke stays poised. It shows that Duke has better inside play. Duke has better decision-making. Syracuse gave up a lot of points yesterday. A lot of points off of turnovers yesterday. And when you're turning the ball over, you can't hope to win a game. The more you turn the ball over, the less likely you're going to have at winning that game. Syracuse turned the ball over 17 times, and Duke scored 26 points. Now, Duke turned it over 11 times, and Syracuse scored 11 points off the turnovers. Syracuse, 17 turnovers to almost 30 points. Look at what Duke won by. They won by 20. 86-66. Take away their points off of turnovers, Duke loses the game by 6. Look at that. Look at the separation. Duke wins by 20 and has 26 points off of Syracuse's 17 turnovers. Syracuse's turnovers directly affected the outcome overall score. It's not one of those like, yeah, okay, they did that. No. The 26 points that they allowed off of turnovers is the difference in this game plus 6 points. They got to get better on decision-making. They got to get better on handling the ball and keeping the ball and working that ball around because you can't give Duke extra possessions. A team like Duke, a team like North Carolina, Florida State, a lot of the times, Miami, they don't need extra possessions from Syracuse or from anybody. So that was the big glaring stat to me. Syracuse had over 30 points in the paint. That was good, but they also allowed 46. Again, Duke better in the paint. Duke's largest lead in the game was what they won by 20. Syracuse did lead by 2 at one point in the game. And I'm just looking here. Duke led in pretty much every single category except for, shockingly, in this game, and maybe it's because of the points off of turnovers, they didn't have to rebound as much. Duke lost the rebounding battle 31-30 to Syracuse because Syracuse had one more offensive rebound. Defensively, they were on the glass the same amount of times, 25 rebounds apiece. So it's the points off of turnovers, it's the three-point shooting, it's the more discipline, better ball movement, better decision making. A team that's farther ahead than Syracuse is right now. And again, not that Syracuse can't get there. They're just not there at the moment. With that being said, speaking about getting there, we got to get into fantasy football in focus. So we're going to take a step aside here. We're going to end this video on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora and our audio feed, and then we're going to jump right back on with fantasy football coverage on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Once again, big time thanks to Curt Fitzpatrick, the head coach of your SUNY Cortland Red Dragons and 2023 NCAA Division III National